open up the champagne, pop. It's my house, come on, turn it up. Hear a knock on the door and the night begins. Cause we've done this before, so you come on in. Make yourself at my home, tell me where you been. Pour yourself something cold, baby, cheers to this. Sometimes you gotta stay in, and you know where I live. Yeah, you know what we is. Sometimes you gotta stay in. Welcome to my house, baby, take control now. We can't even slow down. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house, play that music too loud. Show me what you do now. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house.
I did not, Daryl.
Right away.
Okay, we'll get the meeting started here this evening. I want to welcome you and on behalf of the Colome School Board to discuss the possibility of the proposed new high school with the middle school addition. Tonight we're going to just present the information that the school board has gathered and try to relay what the thoughts are of the board and to bring some clarity to some issues that I think many people have questions to. So go ahead, next one there. Try to stay out of the way here. Tonight we're going to kind of follow this format here. I'll present what we're going to talk about. Then Upper Deck will speak about the project and the drawings a little bit and what the building committee has met with them a little bit about. Doherty and Company will present the financial status of the school district and try to explain to you why we believe that this is a project that is completely doable by our district and will be in our benefit. After that, we'll have anyone who wants to speak in favor of it. After that, we'll have questions from the crowd. So I ask you to wait. We did hand out pens or paper and pencils tonight. If you have a question, we will definitely address all of them. So after that, we'll have a tour of the campus. If anyone wants to see what some of the issues are, we'd be glad to show them to you as well. So, okay. The point of this whole thing and the whole school that we have here is to carry on the tradition of our school quality and our education. We want to give the kids the best we can offer through teachers and staff, plus the newest facilities possible. And to us, that creates the greatest opportunities for our kids. This building is over 100 years old. It has many needs that are coming up on it. We've met many of them needs in the past 10 to 15 years. And there comes a point where we need to move forward. We want to be progressive when opportunity knocks. We believe as a board that we have the funds at this point to proceed with this project, and we believe we want to move forward with it. So, I'll go through a little bit of the history of the school. One more. The original school was built in 1915 and 16. Going through this process, I learned quite a bit about the school that I didn't know, so it's kind of neat. First graduating class was in 1918. If you were in that class, please refrain from standing. The addition to the high school was added in 1924. I don't know if many of you know that there was an addition to the high school. Mrs. Veet's room and Mr. Sherman's room, excuse me, Mr. Foss, but that addition was all added in 1924, and the gymnasium used to be down underneath. I'm sure some of you may have some recollection of that. The elementary building was built in 1971. The goal of this project is to maintain our quality education. We would like to keep the teacher ratio that we maintain today. The individualized and the personalized learning that we have. I think many of us find the benefit of a small school. So we want to keep kids educated in Colome. I'm not going to run down any other community. I'm going to talk about how great ours is. So we have a lot of success that's rooted right here that came out of the Colome School District. We have many scholarships, full ride scholarships that came at the hands of the great teachers at our school. And our goal here is to maintain that. We've had strong sports teams here. We've had state championship football teams. We've had state champion track teams, and we've had state champion girls basketball teams. So we also, and this is no news to anyone, but one of the things we constantly get complimented on is the hardworking young men and women that come from this community, and that strong ethic and background and morals that they have. So, one of the things that we wanted you to be aware of, this is not unique to Colome School. There are many communities in the area that are doing the same thing. They're putting additions on, building completely new schools. So this isn't something that is just unique to Colome District. Lake Andes school enrollment is 350 kids. It's a $15 million project. which is a lot of money. But we also know that there's a lot of impact aid money that they have available to them. It makes it a little easier to do that project. Alcester Hudson, we all get to travel to tomorrow night, or many of us anyways, they just approved Tuesday a $10.3 million project. White Lake up here with 125 students just approved a $5.5 million. That was due to an infrastructure of a 1928 building as well. So the Hanson School District, excuse me, in I believe it was 2014, I was on a committee and we traveled to Hanson, and they were undergoing, they just built their new gym, and they were undergoing a lot of changes in their district. So this isn't unique to outside of us. So I do like what the Hanson superintendent said, and I go along with this. The decision to keep improving facilities is huge. You have to try to grow, expand, and improve. If you don't, you're going to dry up and blow away in the wind. Now, I've heard a lot of comments about we need to focus on quality education more than buildings, and I agree with you. We do need to focus on quality education. We also need to focus on our infrastructure, and that's the board's responsibility for maintaining that. We believe the best teachers and staff, plus the newest facilities possible, will create the best and the greatest opportunities for our students. The long tradition of teachers and staff that invested in the students in our community, 30, 40, 50, 40 years or plus, that's a commitment to our staff, and they raise their children here. Newest facilities attract younger families as well as CHS alumni to return and raise their kids here after college. Next one. The board and the faculty rose to the challenge of creating the best for our kids. They built a new gymnasium in 1993, raised funds for the wood floor. I believe $60,000, $70,000 was raised on top of that to just put this wood floor in this gymnasium rather than having a tile floor. That speaks volumes to our community. A new football addition last year for the stadium up there at the football field. All them things have been very proactive in our community. The newer facilities makes it easier for us to recruit the best teachers and their families to our community. Some of the needs of the high school. This is probably what we are here to hear about tonight. It's constant and continual costs. New boiler for the high school is through GNR controls a few years ago was $1.6 million was the most expensive version, and about $852,000 I believe was, that's just the heating system, okay, and cooling system. There's other things. The roof is going to need attention. The tuck point, we just did a walk around this evening. Tuck point is going to be a 20, actually, we just found out the tuck point was $46,000 last time we did it in 2008. That was for the high school and the elementary. So through this process, we would be eliminating half of that. I believe it was $24,000 that was allocated to the high school. The sewer system has issues. We did extensive work to it last year and repaired it, but it is by no means done needing repairs. The potential mold issue could re-arise. We had a mold issue quite a few years ago in the basement and did a very thorough job of eliminating that mold issue, and as many of you know, and I know a lot of you are very susceptible to mold, that is an issue that doesn't seem to go away. So the ADA compliance has been an issue for many years. I remember I was a senior in high school and we had a young man get hurt and we made it work, but that is an issue that does not go away from our facility, especially for the high school. We've made some improvements on our elementary to try and fix that problem, but we still have shortcomings on that. As you can see there, it's not cheap to be ADA compliant. $300,000 to $500,000 is probably to bring it up to code. So that's an extensive investment there. Other considerations, we believe I don't know if any of you have ever walked through the high school floors, but they're a little bit squeaky. And they're quite loud and a little bit intrusive to the learning environment. We have leaky windows, and staff needs that. We need to improve the teaching environment as well. The best learning environment creates the best education for our kids. Campus security, last year we put in a campus security around the whole thing, so we are secure throughout the day. Kids do periodically have the potential to be locked out of the building, so they have to go over to the front to 2 individual access points to be buzzed in by Gale. So that's by connecting this facility through that process of what we're proposing here, we would eliminate a lot of them issues. So, and basically, kids are number one. That's the reason we're doing this. We want to stay current on our facility. We want to continue to provide this education in Colome. We feel our community needs to be proactive by investing in the future. We want Colome School to be a place people want to send, a place where they want to send their kids, move back to, and stay here to raise their kids. This graph here, as some have said, is backwards. But, oh, you fixed it. Okay. So you can see throughout the years, 2001 had a pretty decent enrollment, 191. And as we gradually went through the early part of the 2000s, we maintained around that 180, 190 range. 2008, 09, we consolidated. So we jumped up with Wood Witten out there. And then our numbers rose and peaked out in 2010 and 11. Fell down a little bit there and then regained a little in 13. And since then, our projection for the next 6 years is 220 mark, which is well above our needs for the state to supply us ample funds to be able to fulfill all of our debt services, and then some. We have many capital outlay projects that we have to look forward to down the road as well, and we believe we have the funds required to do that. So it's something that we're going to, hopefully through this presentation, we're going to show you that the district's been very responsible in the past 10, 15 years, trying to save up some capital outlay for a building project if needed, and we're going to try to continue that. So, why now? I mean, why not 10 years ago? Why not in 10 years from now? Well, we believe we need to be progressive when the opportunity arises. And we believe we have this opportunity now with the demand of the needs that we're going to see in the next few years on our school, as well as the opportunity that we have financially right now. So our current capital outlay 5-year projection provides school districts with an opportunity to prepare for the future and fund a new 16,000 square foot building for the high school, as well as a 4,500 foot square addition to the middle school. And that cost is an estimated 3.7, which we would be borrowing. That would be board determined, and that has not been determined for sure how much of our capital outlay we would apply towards that. But we could see anywhere from $700,000 to $1 million of our already capital outlay that we have on hand would be put towards that number. Number one thing, and this is what I've heard, your taxes will not increase. We're not asking for a tax increase. I mean, I hope that can be as clear as anything tonight. we're not coming to you asking for a tax increase. We're asking you and informing you of what the board has available to it at this point. Under current law, we should receive an additional $300,000 to apply towards our reserves over the next 3 years. Okay? 45% of capital outlay can be applied to general fund. We already do that. We're not quite at 45%. We haven't taken the full. I think we're at around 43%, 42 to 43%. We already take a significant amount. And that is due to the fact that they keep changing the formula on how you can spend your money. Used to be you couldn't spend capital outlay for mini projects, that now they allow you to. So I know all of you have this wonderful knowledge of exactly how it works, capital outlay and general fund, and it can be very confusing, and I understand that. And so if you have questions, there will be a time for that. So. Okay. We do know our future. I've had people ask me, what's our future? How many kids are we going to have in 15 years? I don't know. But I do know that we have 220 sons and daughters that attend this school right now. CHS graduates who want to return to Colome after college. I can attest to several 2017 graduates who want to return to this area. Others might return if we give them opportunities, if we give them best teachers and staff, and we give them the newest facilities if possible. And we believe that will create the greatest opportunities. So that's what we have at this point as the board. Next, I'm going to have Tim Cheever talk to you. He's the architect from Upper Deck, and he will elaborate a little bit on the plans. And I'm pretty sure he'll mention that these are very preliminary plans that the building committee has asked them to draw up. So you had an idea on paper what we'd be at here tonight. So I'll give it over to Tim for a little bit here.
Okay, thank you. And as you said, I want to emphasize we have not designed anything as of yet. We met with the building committee. We talked about what the perceived needs were for the school, if there was to be an addition. We determined the number of classrooms that might be added on, looked at a fax lab, art room, library, things like that, office space. And we came up with a program that outlined about 16,000 square feet of high school space. And then there was the desire to link the middle school with the elementary school with an addition that would go out to the north here. And that would be about an additional 4,500 to 5,000 square feet. But that would include just classrooms and storage. So when we look at what will be up on the screen, they asked us to kind of put something on paper so that at least we had something to talk about and react to. We have not talked to the teachers, the faculty, the staff, or anybody to determine this. That will be our next step. But we just have something up here so that we have something to talk about, and you can see how we might add on to this with the existing high school staying in use as we build the project. This slide, can you go back a slide? Just want to orient everybody to, this is the existing high school. North is up on this photo. The existing high school is here, the elementary school here, the middle school and gym here, with the basketball court, bus loop, and playground area here. That's what we looked at, how to, if these existing high school were to come down, how could we create a campus and create a secure, safe playground for the kids also. What we initially came up with, just for talking purposes, was that we could build the new high school down here And part of the wish list on the high school was to add a couple more locker rooms. We've got the 2 here, but for tournaments and other things, being able to dress various teams, we looked at going out this door over here and putting a couple more locker rooms here that would have direct access to the gym. Then we would go into the high school area and we would have our classroom. We have 6 classrooms for math, English, social studies. We would have a library study hall, and then we would have a fax art area, which is family and consumer sciences. The old home ec would be in here. Then we would have the administration up front with an entry off the southeast portion of the school. It would be a secured entry, so once the kids are in school, the doors would be locked down. Any visitors would have to come in the main entry. Then they would be forced to go into the office area to check in before they could get into the rest of the school. Then the other addition we looked at was, here's the existing middle school. The north face of the middle school is to go north. There's the existing modular unit right up in here. We could put 4 classrooms along this side with a connecting corridor, and we could either put some storage or mechanical, etc. areas in there, so we could link the 3 schools in one building. And then once this is all built, the high school could come down and we could create a playground activity area in the center of all of this, so the only access from the outside is on the east side here. So that's what we preliminarily put together. And again, I want to emphasize, we haven't met with the staff to find out what exactly we want to go in these rooms, but we needed to develop a program or the square footage that would be required to replace the high school. And that came to about 16,000 square feet in the high school and about 4,500 to 5,000 square feet in the middle school addition.
Thank you, Tim. And next we'll have Toby Morris speak to the financials.
Thank you. Toby Morris, at a Doherty company based in Pierre. Work with a lot of schools, counties, cities around the state, putting together the finances, reviewing the finances, first and foremost making sure that can you afford what you're looking at going into. The chairman spoke a little bit earlier about capital outlay, general fund, and so what I wanted to do is show you a little bit, if we go to the next slide. How does a school repay the debt? There's really 2 ways to do it. In the previous examples where you saw the Elsesser or Hudson $10 million bond, that was done through a general obligation. And the general obligation, if we go to the next one there, what that is that's a new tax. That is paid for by property tax. It requires 60% of the voter approval. But because the city or the school can generates revenue through their capital outlay, what they can do is use that and pledge it towards the repayment of debt. We'll go to the next one on that. And it's existing. It's not a new tax. This is something that you've already paid. And if there's one thing to really stress about tonight when we reviewed the financials, is we said, hey, look, you can take on this debt, and I'll get to the amount in a little bit later here, but it will not require going to the vote of the public in terms of raising taxes. You won't have to go and generate that. Typically what you see when schools have to go to a general obligation might be like a fast-growing school district of Harrisburg. It might be something as huge as, I don't know if you've ever been out to the Sturgis School, their district's bigger than the whole state of Rhode Island. And so those are districts that have extenuating circumstances that are, their budgets are tapped very hard, where they have to go and ask for new revenue, which becomes a new tax. When I looked at this, we've looked at costs up to 3.7. That was what the budget said. I said, well, school, I don't see how you can borrow more than 3.4. So the 3.4 is the maximum amount of the number. If by no means are they going to borrow 3.4, I just said you can't go over 3.4 without really jeopardizing your capital outlay budget, which could then, jeopardize curriculum and the typical needs that are used within the capital outlay. We go to the next one. The current capital outlay formula allows districts to put $3 per thousand on. And so what has happened over the past 7 years is the legislature has monkeyed with the property tax formula back in about 2008, 2009. So what we were seeing valuations double, triple, but yet at the same time, a lot of that $3 per thousand was staying on. So you were seeing taxes statewide that were increasing for the capital outlay budget. The district here, they had the ability to levy up to $3, but they never levied to the $3. On their valuation of $320 million, they could have levied at $961, but being prudent and financially responsible, their approximately was about $800,000. And so that was what was happening in other districts. And so that led to the change of a new formula, because one of the questions that's going to come up tonight is saying, yeah, we're not going to raise your taxes now, but what about in 5 years? And I'm going to show you, South Dakota law is going to prevent that from happening. If we go to the next slide here. See, on the new formula, it's going to be enrollment based. Regardless of what happens with valuation, your enrollment is going to be the restriction to how much you can levy. And it's right now about $2,800 per student. And so in 2021, the most that they're going to be able to generate is going to be about that $610,000 to $650,000, depends on an inflation factor. But you can see it's lower than what it is right now. So if the levy today is $250,000, in 2021, say the valuation stays the same, the levy drops to $210,000. It cannot go above that amount because they're going to look at that 220 or 218 students based on enrollment. The only way that that capital outlay budget can grow is if you go, say, from 220 to 300 or to 350. So South Dakota law is going to prevent that from this board, future boards, ever increasing the capital outlay budget. Or I should say the tax levy. Will not be able to raise your taxes for this debt. I just said that, it's based on enrollment. As the district valuation grows, your mill levy is going to go down. And that's the way it was designed to be at this point in time. And it is, again, once I said, restricted by the South Dakota law on going forward. Go to the next one. One question that comes up is, can this be a public vote? The way the law is written right now is if the district were to borrow 1.5% of their valuation, or roughly $4.8 million, yes, this could be referred to a public vote. But being, as we stated earlier, they said you can't borrow more than $3.4 million. Well, could they borrow 4.8? They could, but they probably wouldn't have any money to pay it back in about 2 years. So we've self-imposed a restriction of that 3.4. The 3.4 is less than that 1.5, so it legally does not go to a public vote on that part. And that is one of the questions I hear quite a bit when it comes up. Only time it can go is if it's above 4.8. Next slide. Like I said, the district cannot afford to borrow more than 3.4. And then last slide. This graph's extremely powerful in terms of where we're at right now on interest rates. As rates rise, because it's taken out of the existing budget, you're going to have to pay more on interest and receive less on principal. So as you can see right here, we're still at really a historic low. If the district were to borrow today, fixed rates for 20 years would be less than 3%. That's extremely cheap money compared to when we look at the past 40 years, even the past 20 years. We've just issued some debt recently for some surrounding schools, and it was coming in at about 2.8, 2.9%. If you're going to borrow, now's the time to do it because you get the best bang for your buck. As rates go up, it will lower the amount that you can borrow. And so that also goes into a factor that has to be timed in terms with the architect, with the overall budget, and making sure that we don't exceed a financial conscious decision within the school's budget. So I'll leave that.
All right, Toby, thank you. I'm going to offer the microphone to anyone who has anything that they'd like to add. Anybody who wants to speak to this, and then we'll open it up to questions. Levon?
I think everybody here probably knows me, and I'm not pro or against it at the school. My biggest concern is our deficit spending in the general fund, and we're doing that at the tune of $500,000 a year, and we cannot continue to do that and keep our school doors open. New or old school, we'll have to get that spending under control if we want to keep our school doors open.
We have a plan to do that, Levon.
Good.
Thank you for bringing that up, and that is something that will be discussed. It won't be discussed tonight. This is a meeting about capital outlay. It's not going to be about general fund tonight. So, but
I
we
understand that
are
too,
working on
Vince,
that.
but
So,
you want us to support a new school, we need to get other issues taken care of before we
understood.
do that.
Understood, and that's been discussed thoroughly. So, back there, Joel.
Richard O'Brien, am a graduate of Colome. My mother graduated here. I've got grandkids in school here. Can't say yes or no about the school being expanded. I have lots of questions as to whether we're going to end up as winter, have an expansion and nothing in it. Gregory is running the same thing. Lone Steel. Do we need this extra district? Do we need this extra space, or are we just trying to satisfy some questions? Now, Levon brought up a good question. Now, you said you won't answer it tonight, that's your privilege. But I'm kind of getting the feeling that this is kind of, you're wanting us to rubber stamp whatever you decide. You're trying to keep the funds down to where we can't go to a vote. It was kind of scheduled for a smaller room, and now you've got a lot of people here, so you had to move it over. I'm just a little bit leery in that line that, you're asking us to rubber stamp or just avoiding the whole issue with us.
I'll speak to that, Richard. And by nature, I think we're skeptical. Honestly, I understand your concern, and I appreciate Levon bringing that up. We've addressed this at budget meetings. I don't want to go into details because it could include staff. So it's not open to be discussed in public. Things that you discuss in staff, things that you discuss about staff and stuff like that have to be just talked about in executive session. Okay? So that's what I say about a lot of them issues relate to that, Dick. I get the fact that I haven't felt that we have been trying to keep this under anything so it didn't come to a vote. We've been trying to keep this a very doable budget is what we've been trying to do. We haven't been trying to, all the board has talked about the whole time, and most of them are here in the crowd tonight, most of them are here. I would think, honestly, we would like to see it less than 2.7. But you don't build new schools very cheap anymore. And is there a need for our school? That's what we have to come back to. Is there a need? Are we going to ask the taxpayers to spend more money than they're spending? I mean, I don't think we're hiding anything. Whether or not we have general fund issues, that's not, I'm not going to speak to that as far as, we're here to talk about capital outlay. We have the money to do that. If we can get general fund under control, which we have a plan to do, okay? It's just not a plan that's finalized yet that I would tell you, here's how we're going to do it, because I tell you that, Richard, and it changes, and get what would you tell me? That's not what you told me. There isn't a plan to finalize to fix that. But we have many things that we're working on. That's what I can tell you.
Okay, you have your architect already draw plans, but he hasn't discussed it with anybody. You just got plans to go up so you can show them here at the meeting. It's kind of, we're flying by the seat of our pants.
This is a very preliminary budget, or plan, excuse me. We've spent $5,000 of your money at this point. That's what we spent. We can spend $30,000 just to give us an answer on how deteriorated that building is. It costs $30,000, and we're trying to be prudent and not spend extra money that we don't need to spend.
Well, why haven't we got the plans that we're looking at doing? You haven't got a budget because you haven't got the plans. You haven't even got a design set out to make a budget with, other than we're going to spend this many dollars. Have you actually got a cost factor for the plans you've got?
We have an estimate at this point on square footage is what we have. That's what I can tell you. We haven't finalized anything. This is the first public meeting we've had. I mean, this process has been in effect for about 2-3 months. Nothing is finalized, Richard. So.
Right, so you can't tell us what the money's going to be spent, where your budget is, how much you are spending. All you're sitting here is saying, hey, we want to build this new school. Now, do we need the new school, or would it be more feasible to repair the old one?
I gave you numbers earlier on many of the costs of putting into it. Now, the other thing I'll tell you, Richard, at what point do you stop putting money into a 100-year-old building? At what point?
That school is in better shape now than it was when I went to school.
Well, I guess that's your opinion.
We actually had snowball fights in the study hall.
Okay.
Right, Glenn? So the school is in better shape than it was. So, and right now you're talking under 200,000 as far as repairs. Am I correct?
No.
What are you talking?
I thought probably close to $1.5 million by the time we get a new heating system in there, ADA compliant. If we want to put everything into this whole thing, not even close, Richard.
Okay, now let's go to the ADA compliant. What variance is it that we got to have that school as opposed to where we have now? We do have been getting by with it, so why are we changing that?
Care to speak to that?
ADA compliance kicks in if there is a lawsuit filed, which there hasn't been. But if you renovate a building to a certain value of that building, percent value of that building, then you have to bring the entire building up to code compliance, which, as he stated, there would be the boiler and HVAC system would be approximately 1.2 million. ADA compliance would be another 300 to 500,000. And I'm giving a range there because we haven't studied the building to know exactly what we would have to do. Then there is also upgrades that we would need for fire sprinkler system. We would need to upgrade some of the existing classrooms. We're probably talking closer to the range to bring that building up to code around $1.75 million.
So we're talking that in the neighborhood of at least half of the new building.
Correct.
Okay.
And then you would
That's
still,
what I was trying to find.
then you'd still be stuck with a
Still having an older building, yes. But nobody was coming up with this type of numbers.
Well, and the reason we haven't studied the building to actually put the hard numbers to it, as he mentioned, we would have to, there's about a $20,000 to $30,000 fee that would be charged to study the building, because we have to bring structural engineers, mechanical engineers, civil engineers, electrical engineers in to look at all those aspects of the building as well as the architects. So we're bringing a number of disciplines into it. And as was stated earlier, the plans that were drawn were just based on, we think we need 16,000 square feet. Here's how it could fit on the site. We haven't analyzed how the building will be built or anything like that.
So you don't have a number as to what the cost is either?
Well, we can,
You're
we can
projecting
ballpark,
this 3.4.
we can ballpark it off of the square foot cost. And at $180 a square foot, with 2 additions, that would be roughly $3.7 million. But that is a ballpark. That's taking a pre-engineered metal building and looking at making a school out of it in this area generally would be about $175 to $180 a square foot.
So you're talking the 3 point, that's where you came up with 3.4.
3.7.
3.7.
I think the 3.4 had to do with capital outlay, borrowing. Yeah, you can only borrow that much.
Well, he recommends we only borrow that much.
Correct.
He didn't say we couldn't borrow more.
Then it
his
would go.
recommendation.
Yeah, then it would go to. Yeah, you could, but he's recommending only 3.4. Correct.
All right, well, thank you.
Okay, I'm Susan McBride, and you were talking all of this money on a building. You haven't said anything about what it's going to cost to put air conditioning, insulation, boiler, nothing.
All
You
that,
have
all that.
Just mentioned period building.
Susan, all that is included in that price.
Okay, well, I would have liked to know that.
Okay, sorry. That is a turnkey price. How's that?
That includes lockers, includes all of the casework, HVAC, electrical sprinkler system, floor coverings, wall coverings, window coverings. It includes a building like you see right here, fully furnished. I mean, not fully built out with casework, projectors, chalkboards, marker boards, tack boards, everything's in there. Lockers in the locker room, the benches. That includes everything except the desks that the kids sit in, but everything else is included.
Okay, thank you.
He asked when did they start putting sprinklers in schools. That's a code issue that the International Building Code, which the state has adopted over the years, has slowly integrated sprinklers into schools. You can see this building is fully sprinkled. They are requiring it now for an education facility. Well, I've never heard that.
Gregory isn't sprinkled. Their new high school. That's all I would ask.
Yeah, and I'm not, when was that built? Okay. Well, the 2016 building code requires that.
I mean, I thought it was a good idea. I just thought it was crazy.
Okay, Matt?
Just curious how much more square footage, what's the difference in square footage between the high school now and what is proposed?
We figured it on the square footage of the high school right now. I can tell you this, we have 9 classrooms in there, and that's what we try to duplicate through this. I did not include the administration offices, which are included in the plan, but an actual square footage, I don't know that we have that comparison. What the new building is versus what it's giving up. Is that your question, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talked about expansion, but it sounds like a replacement.
It's more of a replacement of the old, and we're not trying to overspend as far as putting a bunch of extra rooms on. So it made it more sense to us to connect these buildings and use that space, and then maybe use that modular at a different spot. So we maintain that. Right here, Joel. Larry's got a question.
What happens if they close the open
That would be tough on our community, no doubt, but to my knowledge, it could happen. I'm not gonna.
60 years ago, I could have went to each school.
Really? Yeah.
And then in the 70s, when we all redistricted, we had to go here. If I wanted to work with it, I had to pay myself.
Okay.
You tell me that they-
Yeah, I'm not saying they can't. I'm not saying that I didn't say they can't. I said I wouldn't know what we would do. It would be a detriment to our community, definitely.
A lot better pay than I was here 60 years ago.
Sure. I heard you.
Vince,
Yes.
just read in the paper recently, the state decided that a co-op had to repay the money back. Have we factored out how we're gonna pay that back? Right, up at the co-op?
When we did, for
It's such a
that.
lawsuit.
That is, as we currently stand, there is
Gonna run us about
There's a lot.
500,000?
that is not determined yet. That was the estimate if the lawsuit is pursued.
I think the paper said that they had to repay $4 million, divided between the schools that belong to the
About
co-op.
that, Pam can address that.
Run us around 500,000 or so.
Yeah, that would be, the state kind of preempted what they feared the federal government may do. And if it's determined that indeed the match was not made, there was a match, but I can't disclose why it wasn't used, but anyway, it wasn't used, but the match was acquired. But if the federal government's determining if the match being required but not used as it should have been is enough, then there's no lawsuit whatsoever because the federal government's not going to ask for that match dollar. Now, it's not real money. The match came from private donations, most of them from Microsoft. So Microsoft gave the match, they gave the equipment. And it was verified, approved, everything. But the state is so afraid that the federal government will say because that wasn't used, then we need you to pay the dollars that equal the match. The federal government has made no determination at all on that. And so basically, the state was being, is it clear as mud? Am I being, okay. Basically, right now, Vincent, I'm not just being clear as mud. Basically, right now, the federal government has not asked for any money. So therefore, the state cannot sue because they're not being asked for any money.
That's it. I seen that in the paper as well, and it's very confusing what we're going through. It's, in our opinion, as a board, we were asking questions all along. I can remember Mr. London and I and many of the board members like these things, and we had asked many questions. Pam went to many a meeting and brought home very evasive answers. So at this point, we're kind of up in the air on that lawsuit. We're kind of got our hands tied on it.
Vince, my question is, with the ADA, at the new school, will it be accessible to any and every student?
Yes, it would be. And any community members that have any ailments, any faculty, anybody, any staff that can't get around as well. It's not just, as you see in the slide, it's not just for a wheelchair, it's for anyone who has that lack of mobility.
And that'll include the lunchroom and every other building, anyone with a wheelchair?
We are currently talking about the addition right now. To add the lunchroom right now is accessible, but we have to access it from the outside. So that is true, it is accessible, but as we were just doing a walk around earlier, we have some very real solutions to keeping the access inside.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Going on what Dick said about the old high school, I went to high school, been 20 years now, but that high school
now is in better shape than when I went there. It looks great, and I mean that's a credit to our board too. My question is, you're really pushing this to only go to, we don't want to take it to a vote. And why don't you want it to go to a vote so bad?
You know, I'll be plumb honest with you, Gene, before they even give us a number, we didn't even talk about a number to keep us below the vote. That wasn't even on the board's mind. The number that came back from, and we just had a meeting before this meeting, and I thought we had taken a vote. We don't. So the thought that there's a preemptive idea that we're trying to evade a vote, that has nothing to do with this conversation. Okay?
And my other question is, as an official that you were elected to your job,
right?
Do you consider yourself to do what the people want and not just what you want from this school too?
Absolutely. Yep.
Because I would like to, even if it doesn't go to an elected vote, I'd like to see a show of hands, maybe later on when we get more information,
right,
who wants it and who doesn't. If there's 50 people in the room, 30 people say they want this, I say go for it. 30 people say they don't want it out of them 50, I think we need to listen to the people of your community too, which you represent.
Understand. Can you, just a second, Joel.
Just kind of as a follow-up to that. I know, well, first I want to commend the board for being proactive and looking down the road and not worrying about where we're at today, but looking 10, 20 years down the road, which is part of what the board's responsibility is. And I commend you guys for doing that. And I know, you take flack that goes along with this. But my question, I guess, is as a follow-up to Gene's, would you guys, I mean, I know you don't have to take it to a vote, but can the board refer it to a vote?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Is that something that the board would entertain?
It is something we've discussed. As you know, I guess, we are part of a district that does not include Colome. It includes Whitten and Wood. And how many people in here can see the value of having there's more of a value of having a school in our district than there is to the Wood-Whitten district. So the vote could be swayed. It could be, very easily because of a district that we've co-op with. So it could make it when you talk about having, and I don't want to diminish the importance of Wood-Whitten district, but when you talk about having 9 students versus 11 students, this year versus having the remainder here, that there's a little bit of a difference. Now the only difference is they are taxpayers as well, so they get the right to have an opinion. That's why they would be included in the vote.
That was my opinion there, Vince. They are big taxpayers in the school district, and they should have their input heard. We have a responsibility to the Wood and Whitten schools.
And I understand that, so I recognize that.
I don't know if you guys don't know me, but I'm Hannah. I run Colome all the time. And from a student's perspective, from growing up in Whitten and then co-oping with it, it's actually benefited me because I do open enrollment now. So I didn't have to pay to come here anymore, which is nice. I love it. But as a student who worked behind the scenes this summer, who got to work at the community, the school for 3 months or whatever it was, there are a lot of issues that we don't know, you guys probably wouldn't notice on the outside perspective coming in, but as a student who walks around these halls every day, and you kind of see how deteriorated the school is, and it would be nice to have a new school, but I won't get to have it as a junior, but for the younger generations, I think it would be perfect, because what if someone gets sick from having mold? That would make my heart break, honestly. But I think that we should, embrace the idea that the school actually wants to do something about the old building. And don't get me wrong, I love this school as it is now. But I mean, I'd rather be safe than in an old school that could potentially fall in, to be honest.
You've already talked, Gene.
I was a sophomore in high school when they built this gym. And one thing that they did with this gym is we had big plans for a weight room and big locker rooms, and a wood floor. But what happened was the expenditures, they got more than what the board thought they was going to be too. The weight room got canceled. I remember when I was a football player, I was very disappointed. The locker rooms were cut in half at that time because our budget was not kept. The other thing that happened is we were going to have a tile floor in this gym. And I think one of the persons is here tonight too, which had to organize donations from many people just to have a nice wood floor. And after our school got built, for about at least the 2 years that I was still here, we couldn't buy anything. We were flat broke. Maybe we had money, but when I remember coaches or teachers asked for stuff, the school board just didn't have enough money. And that's a lot of, I think, some of our deterioration after the fact, is we couldn't keep up on a lot of our repairs because we didn't have the money after building. I mean, we have a great facility, a gym right now, but we didn't really budget when we built this one. And I want to make sure that we build something like this, we budget so later on, 5, 10 years down the road, we're not still strapped for cash and not be able to pay for the general things that we need.
And I think one of them issues was trying to be met, Gene, with adding them 2 locker rooms, because on double headers for basketball, I do know it's pretty tight in and out, and I can relate, I never played here, but not that this is any, but it's pretty easy to run in. I have played here since after school, but it's pretty easy to hit the wall here, and I did speak with Alan Armstrong today, and he brought that exact same thing up. He said, we went too small with the gymnasium. Don't go too small is what he said to me, because it would be nice to not have, we're awful tight here on this gym, and so there's that fine line of building too much school, and there's that fine line of trying to be conservative, and I think that's what we're trying to address there, so.
Okay, who is on the building committee?
It's classic. The building committee is Brett Gill, Justin Heath, and Brett Galbraith.
Okay, that's outstanding because Gregory, the school board, was the building committee, which was a huge mistake. They didn't have any teacher input or anything. So you need to, that's a good,
And as
plan.
they alluded to, that's the next step. This is not finalized by anything, this drawing up here. The next step, I think, is Tim, I don't know if you mentioned it, but is to get together with the teachers and see what the needs of the teachers are. So,
one more thing is, I was at Gregory's bid letting when they let the bids the day they did it. The bids come in and they were overjoyed, and the architect put up these hands. He said, the architect fees aren't in there. Then they had to go to Elmer Carl to get money to build on 2 extra rooms that they had to chop off to pay the architect. So you need to really have your ducks in a row.
we got our thumb on them.
Gene had made a comment that he was concerned about being able to have money for curriculums and things after we take on this construction. People do need to be aware, we have already purchased new curriculum, reading and math, kindergarten through 6th grade, 8th grade. We have new science curriculum, we have new social studies curriculum. So as far as curriculum goes, some of those needs have already been met.
Well, I'll just speak to our projected capital outlay reserves would be, we wouldn't have that issue, Gene, as of right now. And we're looking at other projects right now as well as fixing some of the things that need addressed now too.
Oh, again, are the classrooms too small, do we need more room?
It's not so much the classrooms are too small, Buck. It's more of the classrooms are deteriorating, the school is deteriorating, is what we're getting at here tonight.
The school boards over the years have spent a lot of money on that thing. They got, hold the city halls together for anything go well.
Is there any other comments?
What's this timeline for having a building plan and a budget and a cost factor?
Okay, well, obviously this is the first meeting tonight. We would like to schedule another public meeting to bring back that information to you. And at that point, it would be a little bit more solidified. Timeline, can you speak to that timeline? Mid to late October to have some more concrete numbers, Richard?
If they have the plans somewhat after they talk to the teachers.
Right, correct.
After we've had
Get more input.
Had input from the staff, input from the community.
Input from the building committee, correct, all of them.
Then they will have the budget, a proposed number.
That's correct.
Thank you.
If you want to, okay, go ahead, Betsy.
Can you split out the middle school building costs and the high school building costs for future so we know, like, you know, because the middle school's not even being addressed in any of these issues and questions. But that's another aspect that we need to consider. You know what I'm saying?
How is it being addressed?
No, I mean, everybody's talking about the high school building, but also with the addition of the middle school, so just.
So if you want to figure the cost out, very simply, take that 4,500 square feet times $180, which is what? How much? 810,000 for the middle school. There you go. 2.9 for the high school.
That's all included in that whole budget that we're talking about.
Correct.
It's all one.
Right. That's if you take that number and start breaking it down and itemizing. Jody, got your hand up?
This is the first I haven't heard any of this. I don't have an opinion one way or the other. But to go back, what are you laughing for? I don't. This is the first I hear about it. But I go back to what Levon talked about. I guess maybe a little bit of the mistrust or the unknown. Would the board entertain the idea that now you're throwing this idea out to us, but maybe let's get our budget under control. I know you can't talk about it, but maybe prove to us that you can gather that up and get that in hand, and then we would have more trust going forward. Just a suggestion, it wasn't a question or an answer.
Understood. I'm curious, has the board created a mistrust?
That's the feeling I'm getting.
I guess I hadn't had that feeling up till this point.
Well, like I said, I never heard nothing about anything, so I came in.
Understood, yeah. And you hadn't heard anything about any mistrust either up until this point, and that's just what you're gathering from this meeting, is that correct?
That's the vibe I'm getting from here.
Okay.
But, you know, you talk about not thinking about a vote or anything, but yet it was on the slides pretty prominent.
I'm not following you. Explain that to me.
Well, I know somebody asked a question about, you know, did you plan on keeping it under the amount? That it didn't need a vote, but yet you had it in your slides and on your brochures and stuff, so it was thought about.
Exactly. It wasn't thought about by me. Mr. Morris, thank you. Mr. Morris presented his own slide that I hadn't seen up until he presented that tonight. I didn't know that was on your slide. So that's why I can come up with I was trying to address the fact that we knew that there was a certain percentage that we had to stay underneath, and that's the number we were trying to, that was not the intent of the board at all. That's what I was trying to address.
Let me just.
Yes, sir. I think what he's trying to say is trust comes from letting, let it come to a vote. I think people would trust that better than, and I think you would benefit as a school board member letting the people help vote instead of you making the decision. And you being part of our community, one way or the other, some people are going to find that cheap,
That's exactly what I meant, Gene, thanks. But it does go back to I think Lamont made a good point, and maybe we need to step back as a board, and I know you can't talk about it, but maybe get that deficit under control a little bit, and then you would gain trust.
And part of this whole with the budget, with the way we've had the budget set up, is because of the school funding, because of the way they changed the law last year with the raising the taxes. We had to spend down our general fund to be within, what was it, 45%? 30%. So we had to change things the way we fund things. That's where I think a lot of this, the way our funding is coming, is, and I think that's what you're talking about with mistrust. I have no problem. That's why we're here. We're here to go and get your guys' input. We're not trying to pull anything under the bus. If we would have, when we tried to do that, we would have just voted on it. It's not that case. We want the people's input. We're here to go and present an idea and see what everybody's opinion is. If we're going to put everything to a vote, I mean, we have to put all the budget to a vote. We're elected for a reason. And if you don't like your elected officials, vote them out. Run for it. We have to, at some point, we're accountable, and that's why we're here. If we weren't, pass it, tear the school down without talking to you guys. That's what we're here for.
I can speak for myself that you discussed a great deal on teacher-student ratio and how much money you have spent to that aspect and new books and all of these things, but yet you didn't even bother to advertise for a science teacher for this year. We are without teachers. We have teachers that have no background in departments teaching classes. How is that going to bring young adults, anybody, into my school simply because I have a new building? If I cannot provide teachers to teach the class and it all has to be on a computer, that's never going to draw me here. Matter of fact, it would lead me to leave. And that's the part where you have to get our trust to provide the services before you can earn our trust. And that, for me, is a big fail.
You were asking trust. Go back to your agenda. And the item that you had is, we will allow time for the proponents to talk. You didn't, the rest of us had to wait for questions. Your proponents could talk. That's the way the board put it. Is that correct?
We allowed for both. Yep, we wanted people that we're going to speak to who are in favor, and figured we'd have plenty of questions. I'm not necessarily guess I'm not
You were asking trust, well.
trying to figure out what
It
the...
looks, from this side, it looks like it's a push deal.
Okay, we're here tonight to let you talk, Dick, and that's what you're doing, so I don't think we're trying to hide anything.
No, but
I think
you asked why you didn't have trust. Those type of actions speak real loud.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mindy? Oh, sorry.
I'm in the school every day, and I do understand about the money. There were some questions that I had, and someone told me that it wasn't my business. And I'm a taxpayer in this town too, but that's all right. But we also need to think about the kids that need one floor, the kids that need that education too. They're just as important as the kids that can climb stairs or that can handle load or whatever. We need to advocate for those other kids too. So let's service all of them. And I get it about the money, I really do, but let's also think about the kids that aren't benefiting because we have infrastructure problems or whatever else.
I'm Tim Tate, I'm the kindergarten teacher, and I'm not a taxpayer in Colome. I'm in the Winter School District, so if it goes to a vote, I don't get to vote on it anyway. But I just want to address, as a teacher in the school, this is not pro wanting a school, not wanting a school. I just want to personally say that I have trust in the board and the administration. I don't personally, that's just me personally, and Carol, because she said she did too. So, we do have trust in the school.
I trust you guys so much that I don't attend many board meetings because I trust you guys are doing what you're supposed to be doing. So I don't know how many people you have that do attend board meetings, but just to let you know, so there you go.
And not all only for the children, but for the staff. Now, I realize Mr. Sherman was probably time to retire, but watching him walk around with his back, maybe up and down the stairs, would have saved him another couple of years.
Vince, does the cost of tearing down the old building, is that included in the total cost?
The removal cost is included in the building. Removal of the old building? It's not.
Any idea of the cost of that?
Probably 50 to 60,000. They just can't come in and knock it down with a wrecking ball. They'll have to pull it down carefully because of the existing facilities around it. But I would say 50 to 60,000.
Now, when you add grade, we'll have to excavate foundations and build. I would agree with that comment.
Okay, well, I appreciate all your input. The board does value it highly. We will make every effort to try and be more transparent. If that's perceived by any of you, that is not our intent. If any of you are interested, we will be taking a tour of the school. If you would like to see some of the deterioration and the things that we're talking about that we believe need to be addressed. So if nothing else, I thank you for coming tonight.
Refreshments up.
There are refreshments and goodies out there.
Open up the champagne, pop. It's my house, come on, turn it up. Hear a knock on the door and the night begins. 'Cause we've done this before, so you come on